So in 2025, there's going to be 5 brand new full-time drivers, 6 if you include Liam Lawson, and maybe you could even stretch it to 7 if you think Colapinto, but that's a story for another day. So with so many new rookies on the grid, it's interesting to see where they're all going to end up. There's no data on it, nobody knows how they're going to do in these seasons. So today I'm going to be ranking the 6 rookies on the grid and decided who I think is going to be the best out of all of them. Okay, so starting out in 6th place, we have Jack Doohan. I mean, it probably comes as no surprise to anyone that he's rated the lowest. Probably rated the lowest by his own team. I mean, he's completed 2 and a bit seasons in Formula 2, came 3rd in his last season, I should say. 6 wins in total. So not bad, but not something to write home about. You wouldn't have him tipped as the next big Formula 1 driver. He did have a race last season. He qualified last in his only Grand Prix, finishing 15th, so it's hard to judge him. I think the main thing that people say is that Colapinto has been brought into that Alpine team. Hard to see him as a backup driver. You can kind of somewhat put your money on that he will be driving for Alpine at some point in the season, unless of course, Doohan absolutely lights it up, which could happen. I mean, nobody knows, we haven't seen it yet, but I think he's going to get comfortably beaten by Gasly. And so for that reason, that's why I brought him down in 6th place. And of course you can just put a / next to his name and put Colapinto in there instead. Okay, so in 5th place it's going to be Isaac Hadjar. Finished 2nd in Formula 2 last season, only beaten by Gabriel Bortoleto, which is a really underrated season. I don't think people gave him a lot of credit. I also think the Formula 2 grid this season was kind of overlooked by the fact that Behrman and Antonelli were making it to Formula 1, so people weren't as focused on the drivers that won it. It kind of negated the season. People saying that they don't trust the results as much, but either way, he still finished 2nd. You can only do what you can, and he's done really, really well there. He did feel like a last choice for that RBC. Obviously, everyone was unknown what Perez. Then we thought Colapinto was going to go. Maybe Perez could go back to that RBC. So it was never really sure. And then when it was announced, it was just kind of there. It was nothing huge. And usually, you look at all the other drivers that have been announced. There's been really, really big news. It never felt like he would make it to the grid, similar to Jack Doohan, and for that reason, I've got him lower down. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a bit unfair on him, but I think there's other drivers that are going to be more interesting. I think he'll have a solid season. Don't think he'll get replaced early on. I think he'll do alright, hopefully. Hopefully for his sake he does better than Tsunoda, but it's hard to see. For that reason alone, I've got him in 5th place. Okay, so now we're moving into the top 4. These are the drivers that everyone is kind of excited for. I think that's fair to say. These are the ones that people are really looking at and being like, these are going to be the ones. Well, 3 of the 4 of them anyway, one of them we've already seen. But in 4th place, we've got Ollie Behrman. So again, it kind of felt like from before the season started, Ollie Behrman was going to be a Haas driver for next season. He obviously then had that race in Saudi Arabia where he did really, really well, and then he had 2 more races. Obviously Interlagos wasn't the best race, but that's going to happen with a young driver. Again, he's not that old, he's not had that much racing experience. Ollie Behrman is probably going to come good, give Esteban a good run for his money. Will he beat him across the season? You would think not, but again, one of these drivers probably will beat their teammate. He was F3 runner-up, then he had 2 seasons in Formula 2. First season was really, really good, where he had that weekend in Baku, looked really, really solid as a rookie. His second season was somewhat underwhelming in that Prema team. He did have Kimi Antonelli as his teammate, but Car just wasn't there. It's hard to go off, but at the same time, could he have done more? Probably. Really, really hard to say in that Prema. I think he is. Do they look at him as a future at Ferrari? Possibly. I mean, he could be the replacement for Lewis Hamilton if he does really, really well. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. It'll be between either him or Sainz, I would think, going back. And it's so early on, though, it's really, really hard to say. Yeah, I think he'll have a good season, and if that Haas can go forward with Aokamatsu, he's been doing really, really well. I see no reason as to why they can't do great things in that Haas. Now we move into the top 3. Maybe Behrman should have been in the top 3 on a technicality, but the driver that I'm going to go for is Liam Lawson. Obviously still an unknown quantity, but more known than the others. Not technically a rookie. I mean, he has had 11 starts in Formula 1. He's kept up with Yuki. Yuki's probably been slightly quicker than him, but Yuki's been there for, 3 seasons? It'll be his 4th season next year, I think. Again, I'm not 100% sure. So it was between him and Tsunoda for that Red Bull seat. Do I think it's fair that Liam got it? I mean, there's got to be a reason as to why they've given it to him. Whether they think he's going to be a better backup driver to Max. I think as well that Liam is someone that won't get affected as much by it. He seems to not give a shit, really. We saw him when he raced Perez and raced Alonso. He didn't seem to be frightened by either of them. So I think, yeah, Lawson is a good driver. He's got a lot of racing experience. So I think he should be the best out of these 6 in his first season because he has the most experience. Obviously, by the end, that can completely change. But he came 3rd in his F2 season, similar to Jack Doohan. I think his year was a quite a strong year though. Similar to last season, it was a very, very strong season. But he's also raced he came runner-up in Super Formula, in runner-up in DTM when he was Albon's teammate, finished 6th that year. So again, he's got a lot of racing pedigree. Someone who just doesn't really care, which I kind of like, and I think it will serve him well in Formula 1. Okay, so second place, we have the youngest of the rookies, probably the most hyped for rookie. Everyone is looking forward to see how he does, and that is of course Kimi Antonelli. He's only competed in Formula 2 and Formula Regional before that. He has the raw potential. I mean, he's only just turned 18, obviously he's only just got his driving license as well, but I think people are looking forward to see what Antonelli can do for Mercedes. He's obviously the replacement for Lewis Hamilton, which is extremely difficult boots to fill. I think he can do it. I think he can do a good job. It'll take time, of course. We saw obviously that crash in Monza, and obviously he did get that sprint win at Silverstone, and he's just so young. It's going to take him a season or two before he's at the level of the other drivers, just catching him experience. That's going to be expensive, and hopefully the pressure doesn't get to him. People understand that. If he can kind of have a solid season but not catch too many headlines, I think that's the best thing for him. But yeah, he did beat Ollie Behrman across the season in Formula 2, which is obviously a good sign for him. And yeah, I think he is a good driver, but we just have to see as the season goes on. And obviously in first place, that is Gabriele Bortoleto. He was back-to-back Formula 2 and Formula 3 champion coming into the season. He joins a class of Piastri, Russell and Leclerc, which, you know, if that's anything to go by alone. He's got so much potential as a driver. He's so solid and so underrated at the same time. He's probably the most overlooked because everyone is so excited about Antonelli, but I think Bortoleto really is the one that, you know, people should be looking at more. It was a really solid field last year in Formula 2. 5 of the grid ended up racing in Formula 1, obviously Colapinto as well as the other 3 that I've mentioned. Just an all-round driver on paper. Again, we'll have to see what he can do. He's got Nico Hulkenberg, we'll teach him well, and hopefully the risk isn't that Sauber is because they're so far back. They may not appreciate how good he is. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but hopefully he has a chance to prove himself. I think he will be on the grid for a while to come. If I had to go for the drivers that I think will be on the grid in 5 years' time, I'd go Bortoleto, Antonelli, and Behrman over Lawson, I think. Obviously, that could all change, but they're the 3 that I think do stand a chance in the future. But yeah, if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to like it. The last video did really well, which I was really happy about. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.